I thought I was going to be the quote unquote first Ryan Cameron. Well, I've always had a sense of entrepreneurship. Before I started cutting hair, I was DJing. I actually had my own business in my dorm room. I think my business hours were like 7 to 10. So I ran it, pretty tight. Shout out to Miss Jane. I'm not sure where she is, but this show is a reminder that I need to give her a call. Anyone can cut hair. Everyone can't be a barber.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Dre and Smiley, the Inner Circle podcast.
All right, so I'm excited to have a very special guest, which I'll share. There's a number of reasons why I say he's a very special guest. I'll share that with you in just a second. First, let me read this quick bio. So in today's episode, we're joined by a true master in the barber industry. He's the founder and CEO of FADEOLOGIST Inc., and a licensed barber instructor, and a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. With over 25 years of experience, our guest has built a reputation for offering more than just a top-notch barber service. As a father and husband, he tirelessly gives of himself by spreading hope and inspiration to all who enter the doors of FADEOLOGIST, leaving clients with a sense of self-value that far outweighs any physical beauty gained from a haircut. Join us as we dive into the life and work of this incredible CEO, master barber, and instructor, and learn more about his vision for the future of the barber industry. Please welcome John H.F. Douglas III to the podcast. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much, man. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's been way too long, Dre.
It's been a minute.
A lot of things have changed.
We all bald head now. We're all bald head. We got to go a little bit gray. So let me share with our audience how far back we go. We go back to John was a barber. And correct me if I get this wrong. Our memories, tend to blur things together. Okay. In the back of someone else's shop, and I think it was a Kennesaw or Marietta. He was working in the back of someone else's shop cutting hair, right? So I go in there. I'm not sure how I first heard about him, but I went there and, my man gave me a dope cut. So I kept coming back. He's like, Dre, man, I'm getting my own shop. I'm like, word? Okay. All right, cool. I'm a young guy. I'm like in my 20s. So he opened his own shop, right? And again, at that time, I didn't process all this. I'm thinking, okay, cool. I'll follow him wherever he goes. Opened his own shop.
Right.
And so, like, this was his shop. He had 2 or 3 other chairs in there. I mean, it was great vibe, dope cut, like everything you look for in a barber. Punctual. You go to some barbershops and it's like, oh, I hope I can get in there. How long am I going to have to wait? Is he gonna go back and eat while
right.
None of that. Professionalism, dope cut, everything you want to find. But here's the impact. Here's the impact he left on me, right? I don't know if you remember this. So one time I came for a cut and he was like, hey man, come with me and drop this money off at the bank. I'm like, all right. I'm a young dude. I'm working in, corporate America. I'm not thinking like I don't know anything about entrepreneurship and banks and all that. And truth be told, I didn't process this till later. Come with me to the bank to drop this money off, right? So, he has his money bag and we go to the bank. I wait in the car, drops it off, and we talk and chat and whatnot, and then we come back to the shop. And the impact, that's the first time, Smiley, that I was exposed to a portion of what Black excellence is, right? My man went from cutting in the back of someone else's shop, getting his own shop, showing this level of responsibility. We were in our 20s. I mean, most guys in our 20s were like,
yeah, exactly.
We're not thinking about entrepreneurship, building our business, right? My man was doing his thing back then. And then today, we'll talk about where you are now today, but I just wanted to share that story with our listeners about, from the beginning, this master barber has been about his business. So I just wanted to share that story with you, John. Do you remember that? Do you remember when you took me to, do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that.
Dre, To be honest, man, first and foremost, I'm just blown away that you would remember that. You never know the things that you do that may impact somebody. We're going to impact anyone that we come in contact with, be it positive or negative. For you to be able to, pick that up from me, I'm really, really humble. And even more so than that, for you to go to the bank with me, that
That
says a
says a
lot
lot,
about you.
right?
Um,
you must have trusted me.
He didn't take you in the bank. He left you in a car. That was good. But he took you to the bank.
He want me to know all his business.
But yeah, man, that's humble, Dre. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that we got to experience that, man.
Yeah, man.
And I also owe you a big thanks, man, because you went from traveling maybe 10 minutes to see me to about 45 minutes. And so to come see me, I would take up about 3 hours of your day, bro. So, man, I really, really, really appreciate it. You don't know how much that impacted me
Yeah,
and my life,
for
man.
sure. So let's talk about that. So, how did you discover that you had this gift, right? Of cutting,
Right.
giving people dope cuts. Take us back. Where did that come from?
Wow. Well, I've always had a sense of entrepreneurship. Um, Before I started cutting hair, I was DJing in Athens,
Okay.
Georgia. I was 14 at the time. I was also 14 when I cut my first head or messed up my first head. Um, so it started in my parents' basement. Um, through repetition, I got good. I continued to cut hair in high school, but when I got in college, that's really when my life changed. That's when I really realized that I had a gift, not just a gift to cut hair, but a gift to change people's lives from the outside in. And I actually had my own business in my dorm room, um, and I think my business hours were like 7 to 10. So I ran it, pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up having to drop out of school. My dad got sick with colon cancer. Thank God he's still with us now. Um, so because I had to drop out of school, he lost his job. He got colon cancer, as I expressed earlier, and that's when I woke up and really, really got serious about the craft. And I called a local barbershop in Statesboro, Georgia. Graduated from Georgia Southern, um, and they allowed a wild college boy to come in and cut hair. And the first day, I knew that that's what I wanted to do long term. Now, rewind that. That was in 1992, but rewind 2 years prior to that, I had just got out of boot camp. I actually joined the Navy Reserve, and I sat out of school about 6 to 8 months then. And while I was when I came back to school, I told my roommate that I wanted to open up a barbershop called FADEOLOGIST. To be honest, I had no idea that I'd be working at the barbershop. I was supposed to be a radio personality, somewhat like you guys are. I thought I was going to be the quote unquote first Ryan
Okay.
Cameron, but he beat me to the punch, and
Okay.
so I did an internship at radio stations and things of that nature. But barbering gave me a immediate return for my work financially. And Dre, when I met you, I was actually still an apprentice. I started cutting you back in 1994 at Hair Designs by Jane.
Yes, that was it.
At that time, that was the second.
That
Yep,
was it.
off Canton
That's the
Road.
one.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Jane. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Shout out to Miss Jane. I'm not sure where she is,
Yeah.
but this shows a reminder that I need to give her a call.
Mm.
But from that point, Dre, again, that's when I realized that I was good at my craft. I was good at working with people and changing their lives again, from the outside in. And here we are, 28 years later,
Yeah,
bro,
man.
and I'm still doing it. Blessed to still be healthy and blessed to still be, changing lives, man, one haircut at a time.
That's amazing. And I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and currently I live in Tampa. But when I look at barbers, especially the barbershops we had in Pittsburgh, it was like a male fellowship. It was like where all the the mental health and healing comes in. You go there because you get your hair cut, but then you see your friends in the neighborhood and all that other stuff. So it was like providing spiritual, mental support, emotional male support, because that's where you just go and connect. But the question I have for you is more on the business side. I like the idea that you said you were an entrepreneur, you had your different ventures. How was the transition from being your own barber at someone's chair in someone else's business to having your own barbershop with other barbers, and you're now the player coach? And let's say you have your skills, you have all that, but then you got somebody else who come in there and their skills may not be there, or they messed up Dre's cut, and you're like, man, I got to come behind my boy here. Or how do you give up that control because you're an expert at your craft and allows them to flourish? Was that a hard transition?
Barbering, whether you work at your own establishment or not, when you are in that chair, when you are occupying that space, that's your own business anyway. All I did was just expand that. And I didn't always know what to do. I didn't always know how to cut hair. I didn't know how to always approach or speak to people, help them resolve issues. But over repetition, you learn. You know, I watched my master barber time and time again, and he was the barbershop clown. And so naturally, that's what I became. And so, you know, at the age of 52, I've kind of laid back. I like to, I still cut hair just as much, but I kind of oversee, moderate the conversation a little bit. But, you know, I let the younger barbers kind of, you know, control that way. But in regards to inviting young brothers to become master barbers, that's an opportunity to speak in their lives. Anyone can cut hair. Everyone can't be a barber. So, you know, just speaking into their lives and teaching them the craft, that's what it's all about for me. And it's not hard. The hardest part is just having patience and watching people develop. It's kind of like having your own, like I used to play baseball, play football, and you're watching your kids play, and, you know, sometimes you have to pay other people to teach them the same thing that you're trying to tell them.
Because they won't listen to us.
Exactly. You know, sometimes, to be honest, they've had to go to other barbershops and come back to realize, hey, this was the best place for me. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question, man.
No, you answered it perfectly, and you took me back in time. And there weren't too many brothers there, but we had a few Africans. So the Africans do, and when you said everybody can cut hair, but not everyone's a master barber, I fall into the camp of I could cut hair, because the African brothers would come to me and say, Smiley, I need you to cut my hair because you're the only one to have guards. I've had the guards on it, and I just cut it. And then the American brother's like, hey, you ain't cutting my hair. You're using a guard. What's wrong with you? You know, so it was like the whole culture class. So I had all the Africans coming to me because I used the guard, and the brothers wouldn't come to me like, if you got a guard, you don't know what you're doing. I was like, but I'm making revenue here. What do you mean? So I cut hair. I wasn't a master barber.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you mentioned being a master barber. I know you've had thousands and thousands of clients, but so I know you don't remember this, but there, oftentimes when I go sit in his chair, you know, like all barbers do, they hold the mirror up. I knew I never needed it. I didn't need to look and see if anything was off or missing. It was, you know, he's one of those barbers. So guards, yeah.
Hey, Dre, hey man, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you building me up. But from my recollection, you held the mirror about 5 minutes. You know, especially 21, 22-year-old Dre, and you're about to go out on the I'm not going to sit up here and let you lie on your own podcast.
I have to admit, I did have a bit of a problem. Like, I think there were times I felt like I might have come every week. I know I was in there often because I wanted to remain tight. So you're right. You know, 21, 22.
Hey, Dre, yeah, man. Hey, man, didn't you have a texturizer too, bro? Well, come on.
He had a Jerry curl. Dre had a Jerry curl.
Like you said, you couldn't remember.
Hey, we both did.
I thought you said you couldn't
we
remember.
both did, Dre.
I remember one time. I remember one time he was like, Dre, man, you can't come in here with your hair wet, man. I can't cut it when it's wet.
That's right.
Because I put the texturizer in, wash it, and it goes straight to the shop, you know, so you get right for Saturday night.
Yes, sir.
But he was like, dude, you can't come in here with your hair wet. So
hey, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Hey, we both had texturizers, baby.
That's what it was back then, right? That's what it was.
That's what we did, man. Hey, we taught. Hey, no disrespect, but Deion Sanders, we taught you, man. You know,
that's true. That's why I would go there to get my lesson. I go to get my lesson. So tell me this: you've been successful in the industry, for a quarter century, 28 years. So, what's the secret to your success?
To be honest, there's no secret recipe other than drive, determination, prayer, waking up consistently every single morning. My day begins between 4:30 and 5. And just that consistency, when you wake up that early, you're already 2 or 3 hours ahead of people. And you can knock out so much more. And, by the time I get to work, I've already gone to work. So being at the barbershop is the easy part. Behind the scenes is really, really what takes up most of my time. Admin can be a beast. And it also depends on how you run your barbershop. I run my barbershop like it should be run. It really hurts my feelings when, it makes me feel good, but it hurts my feelings when people come in and say, man, you run this like a real business. Well, every barbershop is a real business. But that's just how, barbering or barbershops are perceived. And so I really my goal is just to kind of transcend that fake business, real business. I just want to be a businessman that's respected. I want to change the industry. I'm trying to just impact the industry the best that I can, and to let barbers know that, hey, this is a real business, and it will treat you how you treat it. If you have a part-time mentality, then you're going to make part-time finances, and you don't have to be an owner to make a lot of money cutting hair. You just have to just be there and be consistent, man, and persistent. And I've learned that clients, it's not our ability that they are concerned about. It's about our availability. And if you can make people feel comfortable with that availability, then you will be successful.
Yeah, that's one thing that I used to joke about with friends of mine, that in barber school, they never taught, they teach you how to cut, but it's clear they never taught the barber how to provide good customer service, how to create an atmosphere where, that client feels like they are the client. They never taught. You mentioned availability, being available. All of us can. Well, probably not you, Jay, because you're a barber, so you never probably experienced this. But Smiley, I know you've been to barbers where you go in there, you're sitting in the chair, they're like, "I'll be right back," and they go back, and tackle that fish sandwich they purchased. And you're just waiting for them to. They come back from the back, wiping their hands off, sucking their teeth, talking about "let's go."
Right.
They don't teach that, and if you're able to find a barber that has that atmosphere, that welcoming atmosphere, that where you feel like you're the client, you'll never leave. Unless there's some. We've all heard the stories too about churches and barbers. Black people don't switch them like you don't change barbers and churches like that. Something's got to happen. So let me ask a follow-up question.
Right.
So I've been perhaps you might want to use the word stalking you for over the years. Just checking in, like, see how's my man doing? Is he growing? And I've seen that, and correct me if I'm wrong now, I believe you have 3 shops now. Is that right?
Close to. We're actually, well, you know what, we're going to say yes, we do. But we only have 2 operating. I'm actually building out our 3rd location in Tucker, Georgia.
So a couple questions. One is, have you had a mentor along the way? Where does this drive come from? So you explained how you became a master barber. I understood that. But where does this drive to, not only am I going to be an entrepreneur successfully, but I'm going to grow my business and expand my business Where does that drive come from? Who?
Dre, that drive, that's something that you can't teach someone,
Mm-hmm,
as you already know,
mm-hmm,
because of who you
mm-hmm,
are and how you operate your life.
mm-hmm,
Um, but my master barber, Stanley Scott, those guys were great. They really, really took me under their wing. It was three gentlemen, Johnny Lewis, Stanley Scott, and Walter. And they really, really, the atmosphere that they ran is, I picked up a lot from those guys. So those were my first real mentors. Um, and I still carry out a lot of the things and their format uh, in my business today. One thing that really impressed me was that they didn't allow any swearing or cussing in their barbershop. Now, of course, it happened, but when it did, they always addressed it. So it was always a family oriented
mm-hmm,
barbershop. And so again, I took that, um, and they always had a younger child working there on
mm-hmm,
Saturdays. And that's something else that I've been doing for 28 years myself. Having a mentee, not to teach them how to cut hair, but have them be around, positive men for, 6 to 10 hours a day on a
mm-hmm,
Saturday. But in regards to my own having a mentor, I don't really have a strong mentor in the barbering game. I do have several people that I look up to. It's really just a conglomeration of barbers and businessmen that I look up to, and I just take bits and pieces from them and put them in my business. And I know that the core of all businesses are the
mm-hmm.
same, so you can pick up anything from anybody at any time, and that's what I do.
Okay, makes sense. Let me ask you a quick follow-up question. So, what's been the biggest
Okay.
challenge in terms of growing the business? What's been the biggest challenge?
For me, the biggest challenge has been duplicating myself, not putting myself on a pedestal, but finding guys that don't want to do this as a hustle,
Mm,
finding someone that loves the craft, finding someone that wants to make a difference. And skill is the last thing that I look for. Um, you just can't change who a person is. So
Mhm.
uh, the hardest part is just finding great barbers,
mm,
finding good people to work in my establishment. And then when you find them, keeping them aboard,
mm,
um, helping them understand the vision. For me, a lot of people have, a lot of barbers have said that when they come in the barbershop, they've never seen a barbershop that's so fluent or has that much structure.
mm,
We wear
mm-hmm,
uniforms, which is kind of hard for barbers to sometimes adopt or adapt to that because
Mhm.
they're used to freedom. But my thing is, by being uniform, you are creative. You are creating freedom outside of work. Um, Everything that we look at that is successful has structure. If you're a football fan, you're looking at teams. Every sport, you have to wear uniforms, and that keeps
Mhm.
everybody on the same mindset. Teamwork. And so, again, it's hard to find great barbers. It's easy to find people that cut hair good,
mm,
but again, it's hard to find great barbers.
Tell me this: as you're expanding your business, you have two facilities, get ready to have three. And Dre mentioned availability. I remember when I had hair and used to go to the barber,
Okay,
I would just allocate 90 minutes. Even if the cut took 15, I knew I was gonna be in there 90
right.
minutes because you're gonna see
That's right.
somebody, you're gonna just hang out. And I would hang out
Right.
30, 40 minutes after the cut. It was just like
That's
that
right.
was a place to connect. But
That's right.
in your companies with the availability, are you using any sort of technology like text Dre, your seat is available in 10 minutes? Or how has
Absolutely.
because you've been around, as Dre said, a quarter of a century. That's pre-internet, that's
Right.
pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram,
Yes.
pre-TikTok.
Yes.
How have you adopted these modern technologies into the fabric of your business?
Well, let's face it, man. The beginning of technology was a pen and paper.
Yeah. I remember signing in when I came in. I have to sign in.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Believe it or not, we still have a physical sign-in
Okay.
sheet, just like you do when you go to the doctor. It's something about that signing in, and so being that we take a scientific / doctoral approach, actually our uniforms are barbers are doctor scrubs, and so you still feel like you're kind of coming to the doctor's office when you come to Fadeologist because everyone must sign in, and it's a way to gather information as well. So again, technology with us started with the pen and paper. Then I eventually, once they came out with the BlackBerry, I started putting that paper down. I was putting my appointments in my BlackBerry, and as business began to grow, it was so hard to stay caught up because you're taking phone calls, you are texting, and sometimes you have to text back because you have to negotiate these times. Because they may want one time, but another time is available. Then if that time is not available, then you got to move to another day, sometime another week, sometime another month. But thank God to technology called a computer, called software. We are completely digitally based. Our phone rings 10 to 15% of the time. And also too, back then when I first started, no one really had their own cell phone.
That's right.
So the barbershop phone was just ringing constantly. And the barbershop I grew up in only had one phone. And that phone had to be shared amongst the barbers and the customers. Because you had to call mom after your haircut, let her know, hey, I'm done. But I was using the website. I had like 4 or 5 separate entities. I started accepting credit cards back in like 97, 98. No, it was actually 1998. At that time, it was virtually impossible to find a barbershop that would accept a credit card. And so that was like my first step into like real technology, especially after I figured out how could I pay my barbers with only one credit card machine. So I figured that out. That's way back in the day. And so, but now with the technology that we use now, the app, we have an app. It's the FADEOLOGIST app.
Wow.
We have a website that you can book on. You can book on all of our social media platforms. So again, we are getting new walk-ins every day just off technology.
Wow.
Technology is our friend, and once you embrace it, oh man, the skies are the limit.
Wow.
What I do now, admin-wise, what used to take me 2 or 3 hours to do, I can do it in 10 or 15 minutes because everything is already calculated. So as long as technology is working, technology is our friend, man. So that's a great question.
One follow-up question on the technology is part, let's say 25 years ago when you just had the pen and paper, you had your barbers. As part of your team now, you have a social media expert, because if you look at all those platforms, is that someone that's part of your structure that's not a barber but just a social media expert to handle all these sites? Or do the individual barbers manage their own sites or under your umbrella? How do you keep it all consolidated and orderly with there's so many platforms?
So right now I'm still at the pen and paper level when it comes to that. But eventually we want to hire someone to run our whole social media package. Well, I shouldn't say package, but all about social media.
Okay.
And that's a great question, man. I mean, that just lets me know that that's where this world is coming to. Most businesses, which I try to model myself after, they have someone in the back office working on their social media. But yes, that's where we're headed, man. But right now, I do all of that myself.
So you mentioned that you're the admin person as well, right? So that means you handle everything that's outside the shop. You handle.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Oh man, that's fascinating. So how many hours a week would you say you spend on activities or things that are outside the shop. So what I'm thinking of is, and it's probably much more than this: social media, bookkeeping. Um, I'm guessing that's the only two things. Is there more things that happen outside the shop that you're over in terms of administrative?
It's a non-stop search for that next best thing. And I like to be, I like to consider myself in the top 10% when it comes to barbershop
Okay.
owners. It's certain things that I've figured out first,
Mm-hmm.
and I share it with
Mm-hmm.
people, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. So again, I'm so passionate about what I
Mm.
do. It's not just about cutting hair, man. It's just about changing these barbers' lives
Yeah.
and watching them come in not having a car and driving the car that they want.
Mm.
And so, um, God first, family
Mm-hmm.
second, business third,
Love it.
and in that
Mm-hmm.
order. But in order to take care of family, I got to come to
Yeah, yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it takes a lot of flexibility from them to understand,
Mm-hmm.
hey, daddy may be a little bit
Mm.
late, but I'm going to be
Right,
there.
right.
And admin work, because of technology, admin work can sometimes be done on the fly.
Okay.
Social media work can sometimes be done on the
Yeah.
fly. But social media falls under admin.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't text and drive, but you can be at a traffic
Mm-hmm.
light and put out a quick social media post.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
on the fly. And you want to have something that's attractive to people to make them want to come.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. So here's the next,
okay.
in my mind, next logical question. What's the end game? Right. So you and I have
Hmm.
lived some pretty good lives, right? At some point,
Amen. Yes,
we
sir.
both want to be able to kick back a bit, sip some more of those umbrella drinks, when the time is
Yes,
right,
yes, yes.
just kick it with our
Right.
kids. So what's the end game from a business perspective? What's the end game for you?
Dre, man, the end game for me, I said it a long time ago, I wanted to be the first black national uh, franchise, a barber franchise.
Mm,
And I still have my eyes on that. I have, some of my colleagues that I associate with, um, they have more barbershops than me,
mm,
and that's
mm-hmm.
fine. So that's why I say I'm in that top 10 percentile when it comes to barber because I can learn from
Mm-hmm.
them and earn because of them
Mm-hmm.
because I'm watching them and they're picking up, things from me as
Mm-hmm.
well. But what really motivates me is uh, like going to a Hawks game.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm going to watch the Hawks play today. But my competition in my mind has always been that top three chains, top three franchises,
Okay.
Supercuts, Great Clips, Sports
Okay.
Clips. So when you go to a game,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what arena you're in, you're gonna always see Sports Clips floating around, just branded on all those monitors. And Dre, man, that's my goal to see fadeologists uh, in some sports arena. And so my end game is to just have a successful franchise that I can monitor, watch, and administrate. And eventually, I have to come from behind the chair.
Yeah.
I love cutting hair, but it's a lot of work on your
Yeah.
body. Um, but within the next few years, man, we're gonna change my whole mindset. My whole my mindset is to cut hair because I want to,
Mm.
not because I have to.
Yeah.
So right now, I still have to,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
fine. Most barbershop owners do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still on the ball field with my players, man, and I'm still getting my hands dirty.
Okay.
But again, the end game, man, is to sit back. You're gonna always have to work, but sit back and really, really just watch the franchise grow.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, the setup is most of the money is off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the money,
Mm-hmm.
let's think about it. football. I use football as an example because it's just so relative. Um,
Mhm.
most of the money in sports or in football are off the field, on the admin
That's right.
side, on the management
Yep.
side, on the ownership
Yep.
side. That's where I am, but just in the barbershop arena. And so when I have time, the more time I focus on admin, the better the business runs.
Makes sense.
So right now, I'm spreading myself thin because I'm keeping up with both. But I love doing it.
Yeah.
And though I don't have time, I make time for everything.
Your analogy was perfect. I love the way you compared it to football. Or like you said, most of the money is made off the field. That's so
Yes.
visual. And
Yes.
I want to switch a question on you because you're a professor. I mean, professional, and you know hair.
I take professor.
Professor Fadeologist. But when Dre and I was talking before you got on the podcast about the NCAA and the tournaments and all the young brothers out there playing, if I go back 25 years ago, 30 years, most brothers playing had the classic ball fade or they had some braids. I see hairstyles now that I couldn't even imagine. So and they have all types of cuts, braids and I don't know, buckwheat style hair or whatever it is. But from an expert, when you see that, how do you see a hairstyle that you haven't seen before? It's like, because they all got nice lines, but all this up here is totally different. Do you say, man, that's unique?
You'd be like, what in the world has happened to this dude's head?
Or exactly. Are you ever surprised when you see something that's totally different? Like, man, or have you seen it all?
Well, man, barbering, haircuts, it's all art. So you never see the exact same thing twice. Drake could come in one week, come in the next week, same haircut, but it's still different. So you see different haircuts every day. And the haircuts that we see now, as children, we weren't allowed to wear those hairstyles. We had to comb our hair. You see what I'm saying?
Right. We had to.
But yeah, exactly. But I'm really, really glad that we see more braids. I'm really glad that we see more dreads, more twists, this nappy, neat look that we see. Because it's forced society to accept us for who we are, not for how we look. And if you really look beyond a lot of these uh, twists, it's a lot of neatness in that. You have this same natural look on top, but a sharp line, and it's because of what we see so often. You see people working at these corporate jobs wearing the same hairstyles as a rapper would. Not and that's not categorizing a rapper, but it's just being socially acceptable. I mean, what we see on TV has helped us and helped people in the corporate world to better understand us. And let's face it, man, it's us Black Americans, it's us Black people as a whole, man, that has really changed and transcended this whole hair thing. Because at one time we were not accepted simply because of our hair, regardless of how smart we are, how smart we were, how smart we are. And even at Fadeologist, with the music that I play, it was one time I was very, very adamant about playing hip hop at Fadeologist. Clean hip hop, because I felt like when we go to these grocery stores or even when we step in the elevator, we were forced to listen to their music. Okay, but I went against the grain. I always played clean hip hop. But at the same time, their music is our music. Our music is their music. We all mesh together. Think about it. Music brings us together. Sports brings us together. All we have to do is just accept each other for who we are. And if we do that, man, things run so much more smoothly, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was a time when bald heads weren't accepted. Thanks to Michael Jordan, it doesn't look as gangsterish. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like bald heads used to be intimidating back in the day, but now it softens someone's personality as well. So it's all about just accepting haircuts, accepting people for who we are, and just loving us or hating us for our mindset.
Yeah.
And so one of my best friends runs one of the biggest corporations in the United States, and he has those twists, man. And I love to see it because it changes his colleagues' mindsets on how they see us.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not pulling a race card. I'm just saying it's just the truth, man. I mean, at my barbershop, it's a melting pot for cultures, man, and it's been that way since day one. We've always had a tremendous percentage of
Diverse group of people.
different races that come into work. That diversity, yes, exactly. Not just customer base, but diversity amongst the staff. So when you come in our barbershop, man, we welcome people from all walks of life. We welcome staff from all walks of life. We don't care about your sexual preference. We don't care about your gender. We don't care about your race. We just want to just create this atmosphere where everyone feels comfortable.
And you know what's interesting? That is illustrated in a couple of your social media posts during COVID. When I was stalking you, I noticed there was a lady who was trying to cut her husband's hair, I believe, and called you on the phone.
Yeah.
And you were walking her through, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that, which again illustrates what you were just saying, how, you're welcoming to everyone. Everyone needs an environment where they feel comfortable. They know can get a good cut and welcoming. And I'll say again, going back 28 years or so, I've always seen that. This isn't anything new that for the listeners that he's been doing to get new customers. Also, now I have a question for you before we get to the Final Four. I just want to share that the level of humility that this guy has, I guess most people will never know, because the heads that he's cut, and I only know about a couple NFL guys that he's cut, but the heads that he's cut is like, yo, if they knew the people whose heads you cut, they probably were like, oh, they'd be lining up to come get a cut from you. But his level of humility is bar none. Okay, so here's a question for you before we go to the Final Four. So what's one thing that most people don't know about you that you wish they knew?
Great question, Dre. Great question. Before I answer that, I want to just kind of step. I don't know how much time we have, but I want to just step back to what you saw.
Yeah.
You saw me walking somebody.
Yeah.
That was the first virtual. I call it that virtual haircut.
Okay.
That was the first virtual haircut that I had ever performed.
Wow.
And they came up with that idea. They needed a haircut so bad. They were like, Jay, can we FaceTime you and you walk us through this haircut? And so because of that one thought, Jay, during COVID, man, that really changed my life because I was able to still generate money.
Okay.
I did that many times. So shout out to my big brother John H.F. And speaking of, he was one of my mentors as well.
Wow.
So, but
check that out.
The question that you asked was,
what's one thing that people don't, that you wish they knew? What's one thing they don't know about you that you wish they knew about you?
I wish that they could see behind the veil and know that I'm always on their side, regardless of how things may seem. It's hard to sometimes receive constructive criticism because most barbershops are family oriented. Sometimes it makes things difficult for me to address issues, but I have to. And as long as people keep in mind that, hey, we're on the same side, I got your back, things will be so much smoother, man. And but one thing that people don't know about me that I can necessarily say, I'm not sure whether I wish that they would know that or not, is, man, I hate public speaking. To be honest, just to do this podcast, man.
Were you sweating? Just like, well, why am I doing this?
You're a natural. You're a natural.
Yeah, you are.
So, I'm very effective one-on-one. I'm very effective in small groups. But just public speaking, man, that's just not my thing.
I would never guess.
But I would do it because I have to.
I would never guess.
So yeah.
That was natural.
Yeah, man. Public speaking, man.
Yeah.
Is
it's not your thing.
It's tough for me. Yes, sir. But I go beyond my fears.
You know what's interesting is and you probably know this, that the number one fear most people have isn't death. It's public speaking. So you're not alone. Most people feel the same way. Let me ask you
Wow.
one more question
Wow.
before we go to the final four.
Wow.
Just out of curiosity, I know it's been like
Okay.
25 years, and my guess is he's probably gone and done something else differently. In the shop over there off of, was it Peachtree Industrial? There was a dude on the right, light-skinned dude. Is he still with you? You know what I'm talking about?
Amazing. Bernard.
Bernard,
Yeah.
that's him, yeah.
Amazingly. Yes, sir. Believe it or not, man. Bernard and I met in college. And he was cutting hair back then. And he came to work with me. He was the first barber ever at FADEOLOGIST. And he went once he started a family, he wanted to be closer to home. So he ended up moving to a barbershop closer to home. And he started his own barbershop called Level Headed. And so he ran a very successful business for years. And then he ended up moving to Pittsburgh. And so he ended up shutting his barbershop down. And almost 2 years ago, believe it or not, man, he moved back to Atlanta, man, and he's working at FADEOLOGIST
Check
right
that
now,
out.
bro.
You know what? Because here's why I asked.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I saw a clip.
Mhm.
I saw a clip on Instagram, and I
Okay.
saw a dude that was talking. I'm like, he looks like that dude that was in the shop back in the day. Is he on one of your Instagram clips?
That's him, man.
Yeah. Okay, I thought that was
Yeah,
him.
he's on several.
Tell
of
him I
them,
said
man.
what's
Yeah,
up if he remembers me.
Bernard's the man.
Yeah. Tell him I said
Absolutely.
what's up.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, Bernard's the man.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
he is. Cool. All right, Smiley.
Well, awesome. Well, we had this thing called the Final Four, and we asked all our podcast guests. And so, if you were to have a dinner, there's 4 chairs at the table. You're in one. 3 other people at the dinner table, alive or dead. Who would you want at your dinner with you, and why?
President Obama.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I have 2 more chairs.
One more.
Oh, I thought it was 4
Just
chairs
sitting
excluding
at, there's
me.
4.
Oh, it's 4
No,
chairs.
including
Yeah.
you. Yeah, but you
including
can add an extra one. We'll bring up another chair. We can bring up another chair if you like. So you got 2 more.
So this is kind of like that Mount Rushmore thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably Martin Luther King, man. And the reasons why, they all, as you know, they've all done something great that have impacted the world. We know what Martin Luther King has done. We know what Obama has done. I like Shaquille O'Neal. He's actually one of the celebrities that used to frequent the shop. So just to see what he's doing, man, just to see how he has transcended the world of basketball. And you know, and I know most athletes end up failing after their life in basketball. And just to see how Shaquille has just transcended everything, and he maintains his relativity, and I guess that's the right word, but you know what I'm saying. But he is just so impactful, man. He's so down to earth. His passion for people. I mean, he's not the Obama. He's not Martin Luther King, but he embodies those same things. And you've never seen Shaq really. Shaq doesn't get in trouble, man. I mean, he always just runs a clean ship. Look at Obama, clean ship. Martin Luther King, clean ship. None of these guys are perfect, but you know what Shaq stands for, man. For me, it's just a lot, man. And even when he came in the barbershop, he was just so humble. The crazy part was, I still have it today. He came in the barbershop and signed in as Kobe Bryant. So that was crazy, man. that was crazy, man. But he has, you know, he's just so down to earth, man. All three, those 3 guys, they touched the world, man. And Martin Luther King is gone, but what he's done is still being lived through other people. And all 3 of those guys, they pretty much embody the same thing. They're just being successful, or were successful in their own field. You know, Martin Luther King didn't do it for the money, but he showed that that we could be successful by being nonviolent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was his protest.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they both impacted the black community, you know, so much.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but because of the impact that they had on the black community, other cultures in the community, other cultures in our community benefit from
Mm-hmm.
that. So, yeah, those would be those three at my table, man.
Nice. So what's been your greatest success, professionally or personally?
Wow. Hmm. Um, One of my greatest successes is um, being a national brand,
Mm.
um, being recognized nationally as one of the best barbershops in the nation. Um, but my most proud moment was a private moment,
Mm.
and it's a gentleman. He was in the Marines. His name is actually Decatur,
Mm.
and he pulled me to the side one day, and he said, "Man, the way you run your business, the way you do things," he said, "you make me proud to be black."
Mm.
And for someone who lived through the civil rights and went through all of that, joined the Marines when it was a very racist part of the military, for him to just say, "Man," and he whispered this. He whispered in my ear. He said, "John, you make me feel proud to be
Mm.
black." And that just, to me, that was my most proud moment.
Mm-hmm.
That goes beyond the
Mm-hmm.
national recognition,
Mm-hmm.
man. So, you know, that supersedes it all,
That's
Dre,
big.
because he didn't have to say that. Yeah, that's very big for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Man,
that's probably my most proudest moment, man.
man,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
impactful. Yeah, that gave me chills when you said that, man. So I can
man,
imagine the chills he gave you when
wow.
he told it to you in your ear. But
man.
Yeah, man. It
what's
was
your
a
superpower? For example, I'm sorry. Yeah, what's your superpower? The Flash runs fast. Superman flies. John H.F. Douglas III. What's your superpower?
wow. Um, man, my superpower would be um, my ability to pull things out of people that need to be pulled out of.
Mm.
Um, so people tend to open up when they're comfortable, and once I pull that out, then I have to replace that with something of quality,
Mm.
something that they can take with them, hopefully on the rest of their life. So again, you know, I take something out and I try to replace it with something positive.
Yeah,
So yeah.
nice. So
Mhm. I like that.
you've lived
Yeah.
an exceptional life compared to most, right? You have an incredibly successful business. You're an active community member, right? If you were to write a book about your life, what would the title be?
Well, I have two documentaries out now.
Mm-hmm.
We call them. I call it a docu series. The first one is the story of John H.F. Douglas III. The second is Finding Fadeologist.
Mm.
So if I could, and I'm actually uh, in the process of writing our autobiography. So I don't have a title yet, Dre,
Okay.
but um, you know, when I'm dead and gone, I don't know if this is going to be the title of my book, but when I'm dead and gone, man, I just want people to know that, you know, I try to love others
Mm.
and I try to make other people's lives better,
Mm-hmm.
um, from a client base to those that work at Fadeologists.
Mm.
And so I guess the title of the book would be Making Other People's Lives Better.
Mm.
John, this has been a most remarkable podcast. I really want to thank you and tell you I appreciate your words and appreciate your business. I've heard of the term fadeologist, and until Dre mentioned that it was a business. I just like, oh, I got this. But I've been hearing that term for a couple of years now. But I'm just like, I'm impressed with what you're doing. Keep going. And I don't go to many sports venues, but now I'm going to be looking up there waiting for the time I see FADEOLOGIST come across a little sign at the top. So I'm sending you positive energy and vibes because I'm looking forward that it'll be there soon. So thank you, man. Thanks again.
Man, I know we had a quiet moment in the end, but I kind of got emotional. You know what I mean?
It happens, man. It's interesting.
Yeah, bro.
As we reflect on our lives, there's things that they come out in the most inopportune times, right? We never expect it. We had a podcast recently where I was sharing a story about, a moment with my mom, and I it touched me. It definitely, and I didn't expect that, but I piggybacking on what Smiley said, one of the things that excited me about you being on this podcast, Jay, is I was telling Smiley, like, we never hung out. You and I never hung out. Like, we weren't boys, right? But, when you have a barber, there's a relationship there that you develop, and that, for me at least, I could have been the clingy person that you didn't even know existed. But for me, it was like, man, this dude's doing big things. And as I got older and looking back is when it really impacted me. At the moment, it was all about, what I appreciated at the moment. Getting a dope cut, good people. Bernard left an impact on me clearly. I asked about it. He left an impact on me. Yeah. You had other barbers there, but they weren't as memorable. I don't even know who they were. I'm sure they were good people. I'm sure they're good people. But I just remember Bernard left an impact on me. And so what you're doing, man, just keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference, and hopefully, what I've been sharing with you helps to illustrate that. I'm glad that you took the time to out of your day. I know you're a busy man. Your Sundays are valuable. Being a barber, the last thing you want to do on Sundays is something related to work, I imagine. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to kick it with us for a bit.
Well, man, I appreciate it, Dre. This is a part of work, man. This is a part of your work, man. And I'm just very, very happy that you thought enough of me to bring me on your show, bro.
Yeah, man.
That means a lot, man. And as you know, most relationships at barbershops never transcend the barber chair. You can only hang out with so many people, but don't ever think that that you're less important or that you were less important at that time. Time just didn't allow that to happen. But we're hanging out virtually now, and man, I look forward to hanging out with you in the future, man. And when you reached out to me a few weeks back, man, God knows what He's doing, man. I literally had just thought about you, bro.
Word.
I'm like, I wonder what Dre is doing, man. Yeah, man, that is no lie,
Check
bro.
that out.
And so that was just, I know it was kind of hard for us to connect.
Yeah.
But I was in a whirlwind with my business, man. A little tornado. Sometimes a tornado comes through and disturb things, and it drops off things and items right where they need to be. It looks like a pile of mess, but as you sort through things, things are right where they need to be. So, but I'm so glad to be on your show, bro.